All right, so let's dive into something that I think is really fascinating and maybe a little bit surprising.
Okay.
Apparently, there are millions of dollars in unclaimed stimulus checks that are still out there.
Yeah.
Almost 1 million taxpayers haven't claimed the 2021 recovery rebate credit.
Wow.
Have you checked if you're eligible?
I have.
We're talking potentially missing out on some serious cash here.
What's really striking to me is that it's not just people who didn't file taxes in 2021,
Right.
even folks who filed might have missed this credit.
Yeah.
And then, there were those who maybe just assumed they wouldn't qualify because they had low income.
Yeah.
There's still a chance to get those economic impact payments.
Okay, so for those of us who might not remember every single detail from back then,
Sure.
can you remind us what is the recovery rebate credit?
Yeah.
How is it different from those stimulus checks that we were all getting in the mail?
Yeah, so basically the recovery rebate credit is like a safety net for folks who didn't get their full stimulus payment during the pandemic. Whatever the reason may be.
Right.
Think of it as just a way to make sure everyone gets what they were supposed to receive.
Interesting. So even if you got some stimulus money,
Ah,
you might still be eligible for more.
that's right.
Okay.
And there are some specific criteria for who qualifies and, of course, how much money you could get.
All right, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. Who exactly is eligible for this unclaimed stimulus money?
So the first group is really anyone who filed their 2021 taxes but maybe overlooked claiming the credit.
Okay.
The IRS is actually proactively sending automatic payments to some people in this group
Really?
by late January 2025.
Hmm.
But even if you didn't file it all back in 2021, you could still be eligible.
Even if you didn't file taxes.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking like folks who maybe had very low incomes back then and they thought, oh, well, I don't need to file.
Exactly. That's a common assumption.
Sure.
But in this case, filing is the only way to claim this credit.
Oh.
And that's true even if you had like zero income that year.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because you have to raise your hand to be counted.
Right.
So let's say someone realizes they do need to file or amend their 2021 taxes.
Right.
How much money are we talking about?
Okay.
What kind of payout?
So for individuals, the payment could be up to $1,400.
Okay.
If you're married, filing jointly, that amount doubles to $2,800.
Wow.
And here's the kicker. You can get another $1,400 for every dependent you claimed on your return.
Whoa. So a family with 2 kids could be looking at a pretty substantial amount.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder how many people out there could really use this money
Yeah.
but aren't even aware it exists.
Yeah, you're hitting on a crucial point here.
Yeah.
It's not just about the mechanics of claiming the credit,
Uh-huh.
but how this money could really impact people's lives.
Exactly. And speaking of taking action, are there deadlines we need to be aware of?
Absolutely. We mentioned that some folks who already filed their 2021 taxes
Right.
might get those automatic payments by late January 2025.
Okay.
However, the absolute final deadline for everyone to claim this credit
Okay.
is April 15th, 2025.
Okay.
It's important to mark that date.
So even if the IRS is sending out some of those automatic payments,
Right.
it's still super important for everyone to double check their eligibility.
Yeah.
And make sure they haven't missed out.
Exactly. And don't assume that just because you received a stimulus check back in 2021,
Okay.
that you're automatically in the clear.
Yeah.
This credit is designed to cover any potential shortfall
Okay.
you might have experienced.
All right. So we've talked about who qualifies, how much money is at stake,
Right.
the deadlines.
Yes.
But let's get practical.
Yeah.
What are the steps that people actually need to take to claim this money?
So first things first, you need to check your eligibility.
Okay.
The IRS website is a great resource for this. It's easy to navigate, and you can quickly find out if you're potentially eligible.
Oh,
If you're feeling unsure or overwhelmed,
right.
you can always consult a tax professional for some personalized guidance.
That makes sense. Having a professional walk you through it could be really helpful.
Yes.
Especially if you're dealing with a complex tax situation.
Exactly.
Okay, so once you've confirmed your eligibility,
Yes.
you'll need to file your 2021 tax return if you haven't already.
Right.
If you did file but missed claiming the credit year, you can amend your existing return. It's a fairly straightforward process.
Yes, it is.
So it's either file or amend, depending on your situation.
All right.
And once that's done, what's next?
Okay, so the IRS has this handy tool called Get My Payment on their website.
Okay.
You can use this tool to track the status of your payment and see when you can expect to receive the funds.
Okay, so just keep checking in, make sure everything's going smoothly.
Exactly.
And of course, it's always a good idea to keep all your important documents organized and accessible. Yes, like previous tax returns, social security numbers, any proof of income for 2021.
Right.
It sounds like good record keeping is key here.
Definitely.
But I'm curious, why do you think so many people are missing out on these payments? It seems like free money, right?
You'd be surprised.
Oh.
You know, it's not always about negligence or apathy.
Yeah.
Life just gets in the way.
Right.
Taxes can be confusing.
Yeah.
And sometimes things just slip through the cracks.
Yeah.
Not to mention navigating government websites and forms can be a daunting task for a lot of people.
That makes sense. And with so much information coming at us all the time, it's easy for something like this to get lost in the noise.
Exactly.
But it sounds like the IRS is making a real effort to reach out to people and make sure they don't miss out.
They are indeed, and we'll delve deeper into those efforts right after this.
So before we went to whatever that was, we were talking about how the IRS is actually trying to track people down and make sure they get this money. Yes, it's not like they're just passively waiting for folks to come to them.
No, they're quite proactive.
Okay, so let's break that down.
Okay.
What specific actions are they taking?
So on top of those automatic payments that are going out to some folks who file their 2021 taxes, they're sending targeted letters to people who seem likely to qualify but haven't claimed the credit.
It's like they're doing detective work to find these people.
In a way.
It makes you wonder how they even know who to look for.
Yeah, they're using sophisticated data analytics and matching techniques to identify these potential recipients. They have access to a wealth of information like income records and tax filing history, which they can use to pinpoint those who might have slipped through the cracks.
That's pretty impressive, actually.
Yeah.
But let's be realistic. Some people might not check their mail regularly.
Really?
Or they might just miss those letters for whatever reason. What happens then?
You're right. That's a valid concern. And that's why they're also running these public awareness campaigns to spread the word more broadly.
What do those campaigns look like?
Yeah.
Are we talking billboards and TV commercials?
It's actually more targeted than that.
Okay.
They're using a variety of platforms, including social media press releases and community outreach programs.
So they're really trying to reach people where they are using channels they're already engaging with.
Precisely.
Okay.
And they're also partnering with community organizations, tax preparers, and other trusted sources to really amplify their message and build trust.
I can see how that would be more effective than just blasting out a generic message to everyone.
Right.
It's about building connections and establishing credibility.
Exactly. By working within communities, they can tailor their message to specific demographics and address the unique concerns or barriers that might be preventing people from claiming their money.
You know, it's fascinating how this whole effort connects to these bigger issues.
It's like economic inequality and access to information. You've got these millions of dollars that could potentially help people in need. But there are all these systemic obstacles that kind of stand in the way.
You've hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
We often assume that everyone has equal access to information and resources, but that's just not the case.
Right.
And that's why these targeted outreach efforts are so important.
It makes you wonder how many other government programs or benefits are out there that people are missing out on simply because they don't know about them or don't know how to navigate the system.
It's definitely something to ponder, and it speaks to the importance of clear communication. Community engagement, and building trust in those government institutions. So we've established that the IRS is going to great lengths to get this money to the people who deserve it. But let's face it, not everyone is going to claim these funds before the deadline.
That's true.
What happens to the money if it's not claimed by April 15th, 2025?
Unfortunately, it'll be forfeited and returned to the U.S. Treasury.
Forfeited. So does that mean it just, like, disappears?
Not exactly. It essentially goes back into the general government fund.
Okay.
Becoming part of the larger pool of money that funds various government programs and services.
So it's not like it vanishes into thin air.
No.
But it won't be specifically earmarked for stimulus relief anymore.
Right.
It just kind of blends back into the larger budget.
That's right. And that's why it's so important for people to take action now.
Okay.
Don't let this opportunity slip away.
Yeah.
This money was allocated for a specific purpose, to help people during a time of need.
Right.
And it's a shame to see it go unclaimed.
I agree. It feels like a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
both for the individuals who could benefit from this money and for the overall goal of stimulating the economy and supporting those who are struggling.
You're right. There's a ripple effect when people have more money in their pockets.
Yeah.
They're more likely to spend it, which boosts demand, helps businesses thrive, and creates jobs.
It's all interconnected, and even beyond those economic benefits, there's the human element.
Right.
This money could provide a much-needed lifeline for people facing financial hardship.
Absolutely. It could help families put food on the table, catch up on bills, or cover those essential medical expenses.
Right.
It could be the difference between making ends meet and falling further behind.
And it's not just about those immediate needs.
Right.
As we discussed earlier, this money could also help people build a more secure future.
Exactly. It could provide a stepping stone to financial stability.
Right.
Enabling people to pursue opportunities they might not have otherwise considered.
It could be the seed money for a small business, a down payment on a home, the start of a college fund.
It's about creating a more equitable society where everyone has a chance to thrive.
Yeah.
And it all starts with taking that first step. Checking your eligibility, filing those tax returns, and claiming what you deserve.
We've talked a lot about the nuts and bolts of claiming this money.
Yeah.
The deadlines, the potential impact, even the lengths the IRS is going to reunite people with their funds. But I think it's important to step back for a moment and think about the human stories behind these unclaimed checks.
Yeah.
What are some real-world examples of how this money could make a difference in people's lives?
Well, I've worked with a number of clients who have benefited from this credit. One that comes to mind is a single mother who was struggling to keep up with her rent and childcare expenses after losing her job during the pandemic.
Wow.
She wasn't aware of the recovery rebate credit and had assumed she wouldn't qualify because she hadn't filed taxes that year. But after learning about the program, she filed her 2021 return and was able to claim the full credit.
Good for her.
That money gave her some breathing room and allowed her to catch up on her bills and focus on finding new employment.
That's a powerful example of how this seemingly small amount of money can have such a significant impact on someone's life. It's not just about the dollars and cents. It's about alleviating stress, providing a sense of security, and empowering people to take control of their financial well-being.
Exactly. It's about giving people a chance to get back on their feet and build a better future for themselves and their families.
And it's not just about individuals. This money can have a ripple effect on communities as well.
Absolutely. When families thrive, communities thrive, it's all interconnected.
It's almost like a collective investment in a better future.
Yeah.
But I think it's also important to acknowledge that some people might be skeptical. They might think this sounds too good to be true, or that there's some catch.
I understand that skepticism, there's a lot of misinformation out there.
Yeah.
And people are understandably cautious when it comes to their finances.
Right.
But I want to assure everyone that this is legitimate. This is money that the government has already allocated for this specific purpose.
It's not a scam or a trick.
Right.
It's your money, and you have a right to claim it.
We do.
We've laid out the steps to do so. It's not complicated. Check your eligibility file, those tax returns, and take advantage of this opportunity.
Absolutely. Don't let fear or doubt hold you back.
This is about empowering yourself and taking control of your financial well-being.
That's right.
We've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
From the nuts and bolts of eligibility and deadlines to the broader economic and social implications of these unclaimed stimulus checks. But before we wrap up, I want to circle back to that statistic we mentioned earlier. Nearly 1 million taxpayers missed out on this recovery rebate credit.
Yeah, that's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people, and I can't help but wonder what their stories are.
I think about that too. Behind every missed payment, there's a person or a family who could potentially benefit from that extra financial support.
It might be the difference between making rent and facing eviction. Or putting food on the table and going hungry. It could mean access to healthcare, childcare, or educational opportunities that would otherwise be out of reach.
You're painting a powerful picture.
Yeah.
And it underscores the human impact of these unclaimed funds. It's not just about numbers on a spreadsheet. It's about real lives and the potential to make a positive difference.
And it's not just about immediate needs. As we discussed, this money could also help people build a more secure future.
That's right.
For themselves and their families.
It could be the seed money for a small business, the down payment on a home,
right,
or the start of a college fund.
It's about breaking cycles of poverty, creating opportunities, and empowering people to achieve their dreams.
Exactly. And it all starts with taking that first step, checking your eligibility, filing those tax returns, and claiming what's rightfully yours.
We can't stress that enough. Don't let this opportunity slip away.
No.
The deadline is April 15th, 2025, so there's still time to act.
There is.
We've provided all the information you need to get started, and the resources are readily available on the IRS website.
So what are you waiting for? Take charge of your financial well-being and claim what you deserve.
And on that note, we're going to leave you with one final thought-provoking question to ponder.
Okay.
What could you do with an extra $1,400?
Think about it, dream big,
Yeah.
and then take action.
This has been The Deep Dive.
It has.
Thanks for joining us. We've been talking about all these unclaimed stimulus checks and, who might be eligible and all that. But sometimes I think it's easy to get lost in the details.
Yeah.
What really strikes me is how much this money could impact individual lives.
Right.
We threw out that number. Almost 1 million people haven't claimed this credit.
Yeah.
1 million people.
It's hard to fathom.
What does that actually look like, on the ground?
Yeah, it's easy to forget that each of those unclaimed payments represents a person or a family who could be struggling. Those funds could be alleviating real hardship.
Exactly. We're not just talking about, abstract economic figures here.
Right.
This is, this could be the difference between a family affording rent or facing eviction.
Or having enough to eat.
Right, or going hungry.
It could mean access to health care.
Yeah.
Reliable childcare.
Or educational opportunities.
Right. Those are fundamental needs that can have lasting impact on people's lives.
And it's not just about meeting those immediate needs.
Right.
We talked earlier about how this money could be a stepping stone toward a more stable future.
Absolutely. It could be that initial investment that someone needs to start a small business.
Right.
The down payment on a home. The seed money for a college fund.
It's about breaking those cycles of poverty.
Yeah.
Creating opportunities that might not have existed otherwise.
It makes you think about the potential ripple effects.
Yeah.
One person's stimulus payment could end up benefiting their entire family, their community, even the broader economy.
It's all interconnected. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a final thought. We've covered, the ins and outs of claiming these funds. But what I really want people to think about is the potential impact.
Yeah.
What could you do with an extra $1,400?
That's the question, is it?
Yeah.
What dreams or goals could you pursue with that extra financial cushion?
Right.
It's a chance to think big. And then take those first steps toward making those dreams a reality.
This has been The Deep Dive, helping you navigate the complexities of unclaimed stimulus checks.
It has been.
Remember, the deadline to claim is April 15th, 2025, so don't wait.
No.
Head to the IRS website to learn more and take action.
Empower yourself, claim what you deserve, and invest in a brighter future.
Thanks for joining us.